I want you to get your drawing pencil set, lay them out, and take a look at them. But I want you to follow along, and then you're going to do your own grayscale today. So we were working on the contour line drawing of the hand, right? And that contour line drawing is starting to get into depicting the hand as more of a form. So it's less flat. They imply, a drawing is just an illusion of something. It's not real, but it is implying that the hand is three-dimensional. So we're going to move more toward drawing three-dimensionally with exploring value. And I got my value poster. That value poster, however, is about color, but value can be in black and white too. It says value is the lightness or darkness of a color, but it could also be a darkness or value of a shade, just black and white pencil. So we are talking about different grades of graphite pencil. Grades of graphite pencil. Your pencil, your test pencil, or a nice drawing pencil. Here's a nice one. This one is Derwent. It's made in Great Britain. Wow, you don't see that every day. This one is a 2B. This one is a HB, or number 2. So we're talking about the softness and hardness of this part right here, the pencil lead. But that's not lead. Lead is a totally different kind of thing. It's metal. We're talking about graphite. Graphite is what you're drawing with. And graphite is a mineral. It's a rock that comes out of the ground. And they grind it up and they mix it with other things to make it darker or lighter. And it creates a whole range of hardnesses and softnesses. So if you want to do this, you could do this. Draw a circle kind of at the upper top of the paper in the middle. Draw 2 straight lines with an arrow on either end. Okay, so on the right side of the pencils, you can have a B pencil. Okay, and over here you have H. Okay, so you have 2B, 4B, 6B, 8B, and 10B. And is there a 12B out there? Yes, I have seen a 12B. And the numbers go up. And as the number goes up, the pencil lead gets softer and darker. Okay. As you go toward the left, you have 2H, 4H. Can you have a 3H? Yeah, I'm just skipping a number. You can have the in-between numbers too. 6H, 8H. I don't know why you would need an 8H, but the number, the lead gets, the actual pencil graphite tip is compressed even harder, so it takes more effort to get a mark. So the lead gets harder. So H stands for hard, for the hardness of the lead, and your lines get lighter. Okay, so now you kind of understand why I said, get a couple or a variety of pencils so that you don't have just one or two. Because if you have a number 2 pencil like me right now, this number 2 pencil, if you look really closely, I don't know if it's rubbed off, it's starting to rub off. It says HB right here. What do you think B stands for, ladies? I don't know who created this system, but somebody just made this up to make it easier. If H stands for harder, what do you think B stands for? It stands for black. Thank you. Is that you, Diana? So, it stands for black because it gets more black as the number increases. So, as sadly to say, if you don't have anything like a 6B and up, and you try to do this exercise, you can do this exercise, but you will not get a really, really, really rich black as dark as a 10B with a 2B. If that is the highest B pencil you have, there's no way you're going to get it that dark if you don't have a 10B. Do you need a 10B? No. I think that an 8B is a nice dark pencil. If that's as far up as you go, or even a 4B, you can work with that. You can work with that. So value. What is value? Value is the darkness or lightness of an object. Okay, very simple. Okay, so when you are shading, values the darkness or lightness of an object. Is it possible to have many different values across the surface of an object? Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to learn some mark making techniques used to express value, and they are scribbling, okay, cross-hatching, cross-hatching, okay, sgraffito. That's an Italian word for a specific technique. Sgraffito. And then we have pointillism, or when you use little dots to fill in an area of value. It's also called stippling. Pointillism is when you use color. Stippling is when you use black and white. So B and W, black and white. If you're doing it in color, it's called pointillism, because that comes from the work of a artist who worked around the time of the Impressionists. And his name was Georges Seurat. And Georges Seurat was a French gentleman, a painter, who created humongous paintings where he just used little dots of color. You need to make something a little bit lighter, but you don't want to erase all your work. Just maybe give it a little swipe with a kneaded eraser. And that'll lighten up things quite a bit without erasing all your marks. Then you could go back in and try to even it out with a couple more pencil lines here. So it lets you kind of fiddle with it a little bit. Cross-hatching looks like this, where you have lines that are very, very close together. You can go diagonal, horizontal. You're going to have to go in many different directions. So I did diagonal that direction, and now I'm going to do another kind of diagonal here. Just keep your lines real close together. Maybe do a horizontal line next. So you see how I'm kind of creating a mesh. I'm piling all these lines, parallel lines, right on top of each other, and just kind of switching up directions until I see very little space. And then how do I get lighter? Using cross-hatching. I'm going to increase the amount of space between my lines. I can switch up my pencil, so I could use a harder pencil. So if I was using a 6B here, maybe I want to use a 4B here. And I also can use less pressure. Okay. Also, leave out a set of lines. So instead of diagonals and then horizontal and vertical, leave out the set of vertical lines. Just leave out a set of lines so that you are putting less pencil down on your paper. And increase the space. See how big the space is now? Okay, it increases space. Sgraffito is a kind of like squiggly line here, and it's used to sometimes create a hair texture. Or just add an interesting texture overall when you're shading. But if you put it on a woman's portrait, it could kind of make them look like they have hair. So just kind of be careful of where you want to use it. There might be a certain situation where like someone has curly hair or has a textured article of clothing where it may have fur or wool. and they might want to use a sgraffito mark like that. I'm just going in these little random directions like this. Some people, okay, so that's sgraffito. I'm making a little bit more space in between my squiggles here, and also adding easing up on the pressure a little bit. Also, if you keep on overlapping your sgraffito, it darkens it up. So if you feel like the next one is too light, you can go over it with another layer of sgraffito. And here it gets a little lighter here. Okay. What you don't want to do, you're going to make this one noticeably darker. So you might have to go back and forth a little bit. What you don't want to do is have the second square be the same as the third square, because it has to eventually get lighter and lighter and lighter, and each single value has to stand on its own as a distinct value. Stippling is usually used with wet media. Wet meaning like pen and ink, where there's like a wet ink inside of the barrel of your writing instrument. So pen and ink, markers, those are called wet media. So this pen right here, that it has a liquid inside of the barrel. So stippling, you can do it in pencil, but it works really well with pen and ink, because how are you going to shade using ink? Because if you can't use scribbling, because if you can use scribbling, I guess. Some people like blend it. You know, you don't want to like smear it. You can use cross-hatching. You could certainly use sgraffito, or you could use stippling. And stippling is supposed to describe a really smooth surface. If you do a really good job, perfectly control the space between the dots. So in order to make the first square using stippling really, really dark, you would just make the dots super close to each other so that there is no space in between them, so it's almost black. And then for the next one, it's not as painful as you think it is. As you go down the different spaces that we're going to set up, you're going to increase the space between the dots. So it's with each square that you're filling in with these little dots, it's going to be easier and easier and faster to finish the square. Okay? So with the stippling, I'll let you just put the stippling kind of in the center. So Art 1, your first exercise that I'm going to get you started on. Each grayscale is going to be 1 by 8. That means 8 inches in length. Like going this way, mark off an 8-inch line, mark the bottom where it's 8 inches, and mark the top at 0 on the ruler. Okay, so that's my 8-inch line. At the top, I'm going to show you, go over 1 inch. All right, so we're going to make each of these little grayscale strips 1 inch wide. Okay, I made a little dash mark right there, or a hash mark. On the bottom, I also do that, a little hashtag or a hash mark. And then I just draw the line. And then every inch, I'm going to measure every inch. I'll just do this down here. Starting at 0, every inch, make a little dash mark. Like that. Draw a series of little dash marks, hash marks, whatever you want to call them, all the way down the other side too. So on the other line, on the right. Okay. So you should have 2 points of reference, and when you do that, then your ruler is kind of locked in. So even if you tilt the ruler down, you'll know, oh, I'm off my mark, I better put it back up there. Do it with a real sharp pencil and your lines will become more accurate. So now draw all your horizontal lines. So we're drawing horizontal. The lines going up and down are vertical lines. Ooh. This technique right over here is going to be called scribbling. So we're going to write scribbling. next to it. So I want you to go from either light to dark or dark to light. It is completely up to you, but I like to go from dark to light. When you do scribbling, you do have to be neat about it. You don't just go and do random directions of scribbling. Choose a direction and keep to that direction for every single square so that it's very clear that you're going lighter and darker, okay? So I'm going to start from one corner, which is right here, this corner, and I'm going to scribble to that corner right over here. So from this corner to that corner, and I'm going to press really hard like this. And right now I'm just using a number 2 pencil. So I should get my little pencil pouch or whatever, makeup bag, and I'm going to root around in here for a super dark pencil. And here's a 4B. That's pretty dark, so I'd say that's medium dark. Maybe I have an 8B in here somewhere. Ugh, it's broken. This is a much loved pencil. This is a 6B. That's pretty dark. So it looks like the darkest pencil that I have is this much loved 6B. That's why it's this short. So what I'm going to do is use my 6B here in the corner, and then I'm going to go across diagonally and go like this. Back and forth in a diagonal fashion, overlapping my lines so that I do not, ooh, see how dark that is? It's almost opaque, but because it's graphite, there is a shine to it, like a silvery dark gray shine to it. If you are using a pencil and it does not have that shine, it's very flat black, just make sure that you are not using charcoal, because some of your sets might have thrown in some charcoal. Then you are using the wrong art material or medium. Different art materials, we call them mediums. And what kind of medium are you using? Oh, I'm using charcoal today, or oh, I'm using paint. So paint, charcoal, they are different art mediums. So we're going to go like this. If there is a little white spot, just try to fill it in the best you can, but try to go in the same direction. And it's okay if it goes outside the lines a little bit. No problem. That's not really the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to demonstrate all the different values. So wow, that is really dark. So what you can do is press more with more pressure to get the pencil to go really dark. Switch to a dark pencil to begin with, and also leave no space between your lines. That's what's going to make your mark making darker. To vary your values, you can change to a darker or lighter pencil. You can use less pressure, and you can show more paper between your lines. Another way of saying that is space your lines wider apart. And this is scribble shading. Okay? So, in other words, space lines further apart. Okay, and you could get away with doing that with the same pencil. You don't have to switch to another pencil for the next one. You could keep to a 6B and just lighten up on the pressure, or space your scribble lines a little further apart. And so especially if you just have like 4 different pencils or 3 different pencils, and you don't have like a pack of like 12 pencils or something like that, you know, you have about 3 or 4 to start with. Because if you see mine, you can see I have a lot of the same pencil, and I only have here with me like maybe four different kinds of pencils. So for the next one, I'm going to stick to my little friend here, 6B, and I am going to go diagonally, and I'm going to use less pressure, and let's see if that makes a difference. I don't want to get, you know, light too fast. That's the danger, you know, getting too light so fast that you run out of values down here and you're just like white in the middle and you're like, oh, I have nowhere to go now. So don't get too light too fast. Also, you could go back over your lines and just go in the same direction again to darken them up if you seem to be going too light too quickly. I'm looking at this and I know I'm going too light too quickly. So I'm going to have to see, you can see a little bit more of the paper between my lines. So I'm going to, and also I feel like it's too much of a jump from here to here. So I'm just going to make it noticeably lighter, but not that much lighter. But it has to be noticeably lighter from this one to this one. And this is a little tricky. You can't do this so that like some parts of the square are lighter and some parts are darker. Like right here seems darker. You have to do it consistently and evenly throughout the same value throughout the whole square. That's what I'm saying. So you can't have like lighter corners and darker corners or whatever. It has to look even, because that's going to confuse the whole point of doing a very gradual looking grayscale. So does that look lighter? Does that seem to have more light? Yes, yes. So now from here, I would switch out to a 4B and do the next one. So I'm going to do one more, and then what I'm going to do, and I'm not really even jamming down on the 4B because I'm afraid then it might look darker than the 6B that I used up here, but I used with less pressure. So I'm just going to use a little bit lighter pressure. And I'm just going to take my time. So this is what I want my art ones to be doing this morning. I want you to be taking these notes. I want you to practice these techniques each day so that you're using class time and I'm not giving you all this homework to do on your own. But of course, if you don't finish during class, then I want you to use, you know, your own time to finish up. Maybe during today's office hours, or they're called independent study for you. You can do that. Gonna do this one. Ooh, that is much lighter. So you get the general idea. Each one has to look distinct. If number 3 looks the same as number 2, then you got a problem. You might have to go back and make square number 2 darker, or take your eraser, erase square number 3 and make it a little bit lighter. Or if you have the kneaded eraser, this is where the kneaded eraser comes in handy. You could lightly erase it up with a kneaded eraser, and the kneaded eraser does not completely wipe your lines. It will lighten it up just to the amount you need. And with the kneaded eraser, what it does is it does leave pencil behind, and the harder you press, the more it takes away. You might have to go back and forth a little bit, fiddle with it a little bit to make the value even in each square. So these are just some exercises that we're going to do. This is called a grayscale. Okay, we're doing a grayscales, okay? Grayscales show value, and you're going to have 8 different values. Yes, you're going to have 8 different values. So today I want you to do and finish up this scribbling grayscale. Okay? And for our art 2s, you're going to do a color scale. And so for my art 2s, luckily I was able to get this on sale before AC Moore closed down. I am so sad they're gone. Pick a color that's darker, like not yellow. Don't pick yellow. Like blue or red. I chose green because that's going to show up. You're just going to use one color, and you are going to just use the white of the paper, Art 2s, and you are going to do a color scale. So for you, it's just going to be like this. I know I didn't get a chance to spend too much time on your assignment, but I just want to show you real quick for some of you who might be like, okay, what are we supposed to do here? Okay, so yours is very easy too. You're going to do the same thing, scribbling, but you're going to just use pressure alone, since you don't have like, right now I don't want you to switch to a different green or something like that, and I don't want to do that kind of thing too much because some of you don't have a lot of different shades of one type of color. It depends on the number of pencils in your set. So you might have gotten, you know, a 24 color set, which is very nice. It's going to have a lot of colors. Or you might even have a set of only 12 or even less. You might have 8. So it depends on your set. So I want to do it so it's more doable for everybody. So nothing too fancy right here. I'm really filling it in dark. I'm using a lot of pressure, R2s. All right, so for the next one, just use less pressure and lighter if you are Art 2. Art 2 is doing color scales. You will be doing some fancy stuff where you're using the different mark making techniques just like Art 1, but you will be using black for the next one and mixing it in. I'm going to have you guys do Sgraffito for the second one, and I'm going to have you mix in Sgraffito, your green color. You could stick to the same color and introduce black also to make like a really dark pine green, what I call a pine green, for the first square, and then also get lighter and lighter and take away the black. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated for our R2s. But for this first one that I want you to get done today, I just want you to stick to one color and just do the scribble technique and use the white of the paper. Have that show through to make your lighter and lighter values. What if you screw up and you make your boxes too dark and you have to go back and lighten them? Can you erase colored pencil? That's a good question. Let me see. Yes, you can erase colored pencil. You can't erase it completely unless you have a special colored pencil eraser and that has pumice in it. And I don't think you need to buy that, okay? And basically it has sand in it and it will rub away a layer of paper because you got to be pretty aggressive to erase colored pencil. So this is just a regular eraser. It's just green in color. So this is not that special thing I'm talking about. I have it all at school, so I don't even have one. So I want you to go ahead and do that if you're R2 today, okay? So class is over. I will see you tomorrow. Work on this today. And if you need more time, maybe we could work on this a little bit tomorrow. All right, Azulima and Yuki, class is over. Don't be late for your next class, which is 4th period. Okay.